If we think that platelet-rich plasma is the best option for the patient, it is ethical and required to offer that treatment option. We encourage a shift in mindset. That lack of insurance coverage doesn't mean that PRP is ineffective. It just shows the slow pace at which insurance companies update their policies. I want to remind physicians that they are not the fiduciary for their patients. They are the doctor. They have taken an oath to do no harm to the patient, not the bank account. PRP is powerful, but insurance won't touch it. Why? Insurance companies call it experimental. But is that the whole story? Discover the truth on what they're not telling you and how to protect your patients and your bottom line. I'm Dr. Ariana Demers, the Queen of Orthobiologics, and I am leading the way in orthopedic surgery innovation, shaping medical practices for success. If you're offering PRP or considering offering PRP in your orthopedics or sports medicine practice, you've likely run into one big roadblock: insurance. In this video, we'll break down why PRP isn't covered, how this impacts your clinical decision-making, and what smart doctors are doing who offer regenerative care without relying on third-party payers. So I get a lot of questions, including, does insurance cover PRP? In most cases, the answer is no. Insurance companies typically do not cover platelet-rich plasma injections for orthopedic conditions. While PRP has shown promising results for joint pain, for tendon injuries, for osteoarthritis, most insurance companies still classify this as experimental or investigational. Therefore, it is a non-covered service. Why? This probably stems from a historical lack of large-scale randomized controlled trials that insurers are relying on to justify routine coverage decisions. In contrast, treatments like hyaluronic acid for joint pain are commonly covered because they've been used for decades and have a broader FDA-backed research. So that leaves patients paying out of pocket for PRP. So unless someone has a very forward-thinking or niche insurance policy, the reality is the patient is paying out of pocket. Don't miss out. Please subscribe to our newsletter now to stay ahead of the world of orthobiologics. You can find the link below. Additionally, if you're ready to start this journey with me in my Orthobiologics Masterclass, come join us. That said, many patients are choosing PRP, valuing its natural regenerative approach, even if their insurance company is not footing the bill. So a lot of my patients who are Medicare recipients ask me if their good insurance covers PRP. And really, Medicare's policy is even more restrictive than a lot of the commercial plans, including the Medicare Advantage, or as I like to call it, the Medicare non-Advantage plans. As of now, Medicare only covers PRP for one specific use: non-healing diabetic wounds placed topically. And even then, the treatment must meet very strict criteria. And coverage is only available under very defined circumstances and requires the use of specific building codes, including the tracking code, the 0232T code, which is for injections, and P9020, which is for the PRP product itself. Now, as lovely as that is, they have codes for them, the reimbursement dollar amount from Medicare is still zero. So it is a non-covered service. And when it comes to orthopedic applications like knee arthritis, rotator cuff injuries, tennis elbow, Medicare offers no coverage. It is considered a non-covered service. And if the patient is hoping that Medicare will reimburse them for PRP or treat them or for treatments for joints or tendons, it is very, very important to clarify that this simply will not happen. And even more important is we have to request that they sign an ABN, which is an advanced beneficiary notice where they promise and sign the document saying that they won't request reimbursement for this non-covered service and that they understand that it is not covered before we ever offer the PRP-based treatments. So the question is insurance ever going to cover platelet-rich plasma? And there may be a little light at the end of the tunnel. Some insurance companies are starting to revisit their stance on platelet-rich plasma, particularly in cases where other conservative treatments have failed. A few carriers have begun covering PRP for osteoarthritis or chronic tendon injuries, specifically in highly active patients or athletes. There was a government-backed VA pilot study that covered platelet-rich plasma for knee arthritis and lateral epicondylitis. Unfortunately, that pilot study has ended, and so this now is falling into non-covered services. And hopefully, by 2026, there may be some limited coverage introduced by select insurers for maybe narrow conditions. Honestly, I hope they don't cover it. Because ultimately, anytime they cover a service, the reimbursement to the doctor continues to be lower and lower and lower. And it is a race to the bottom. And so for now, it is safe to assume that PRP is a cash pay procedure unless proven otherwise. If coverage is possible, clinics and patients will need to jump through all of the hoops to provide extensive documentation for medical necessity, and most likely they will do what they usually do, which is deny coverage, deny coverage, deny coverage. In such cases, some patients may be able to receive partial reimbursement or take advantage of payment plans, but ultimately, right now, this is a non-covered service until proven otherwise. Lots of patients are concerned that if the procedure of platelet-rich plasma is not covered by insurance, there's somehow something wrong with the procedure or that it's not proven. So it's understandable about this question. Should I be worried that it's not covered? And then they worry that maybe it's a less legitimate treatment option. But I think in this case, the opposite may be true. Rather than seeing it as a red flag, we encourage a shift in mindset. That lack of insurance coverage doesn't mean that PRP isn't effective. It just shows the slow pace at which insurance companies update their policies. In fact, this opens the door for greater medical freedom, offering evidence-informed care without the constraints of outdated reimbursement models. Platelet-rich plasma allows practitioners to focus on regenerative solutions tailored to the patient's biology, not insurance approval codes. And many patients are willing to invest in that level of care because they understand the massive benefits. And so rather than seeing the lack of coverage as a barrier, I would consider it a chance to provide cutting-edge care that aligns more closely with your values as a physician and your patient's goals for long-term solutions. In short, most insurers are not on board with platelet-rich plasma coverage yet. You'll always collect cash up front for these injections, and then some insurance companies may reimburse on the back end. Medicare only pays for chronic wound applications under very, very strict rules and guidelines, and very few, if any, insurers cover for PRP for tendon or joint issues. So definitely plan accordingly in your practice. Educate your patients that it's a self-pay or a private pay option, and set your practice up to be able to accept cash pay options. And what I usually like to call it is direct pay or private pay patients, right? And so we really have to have the infrastructure to be able to accept cash, accept credit cards, accept HSA and FSA cards, accept care credit, and keep thorough documentation. If you're going to try to get reimbursement through the governmental and insurance-based agencies, you have to keep thorough documentation, keep updated on the very specific codes and reimbursement dollar amount as these policies evolve. A lot of doctors ask me, like, yeah, I'd like to offer it, but it's not covered by insurance, so I can't offer it. And that's clearly not true. And that mindset of if it is not covered by the insurance company, I can't offer it, is absolutely false. That is what we have been brainwashed to think, is that if the insurance company doesn't offer it, then nobody's going to pay for it. That's not true. That's 100% false. And I would go so far as to say that is not ethical and it is harmful for our patients. Hear me out. If we are withholding options just because the insurance company has decided that they don't want to pay for the benefit, most likely because they can't make money on it, then we somehow are doing the insurance company's job by withholding care because of the insurance coverage decisions. So if we think that platelet-rich plasma is the best option for the patient, it is ethical and required to offer that treatment option. And if you withhold that treatment option and do not offer it, because now either you are profiling, you don't think they can pay for it, or you are doing the insurance company's work and withholding care from patients due to financial considerations that the insurance company can't make money on it, those should not happen. So the ethical move is to offer all of the options, regardless of insurance coverage, and make recommendations for the best treatment option for your patient's situation, which most times will be orthobiologics. And then you can have the conversation of whether or not it's covered. And I tell my patients, unfortunately, your insurance company has not seen the value of platelet-rich plasma. And of course, I'm happy to highlight the reason why is because they cannot make a return on investment in the patient's own blood or bone marrow or adipose. There's no return on investment for the insurance companies. Number two, to assume that you know what's in your patient's bank account is risky. And so to just offer them the options and allow them to weigh the risks and benefits of every option, and they are coming to you for guidance, and you can guide them and educate them on what would be best in their medical situation, and let them make the decision from the financial situation. I want to remind physicians that they are not the fiduciary for their patients. They are the doctor. They have taken an oath to do no harm to the patient, not the bank account. So, if you want to stay up on how to talk to your patients about cash pay orthobiologics, or how to consider why insurance is going to be a horrible decision if they ever cover platelet-rich plasma, please don't forget to subscribe to my newsletter, and don't let the insurance question catch you off guard.